It is 8:45-ish on a Sunday morning, and we're gonna work on our Curse of Strahd Dungeons and Dragons prep. We're gonna prep some Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah. So it's been a long 2 days, but here we are. So I'm running 3 Curse of Strahd games. I got all 3 games open and ready to go. Nothing more frustrating to me than having all 3 games load up instantaneously, but yet on Thursday it took 20 minutes for us to log in. I don't know. I don't know what it is about Thursdays, but it's real hard to log into games. It's very strange. Anyways, let's take a quick review of where we're at. So, Curse of Strahd Classic. They are in the world. They've made it to the world. They've met the siblings, and they are trying to figure out what to do about Barovia. We left off with them at the inn, and that is where we are with that. Curse of Strahd Nightfall. They finished up Death House last week. We could have left off on a much better cliffhanger, I think, than we did, but I was so excited, I kind of like missed the opportunity to stop it for the cool cliffhanger. So we know that they were ultimately successful, and that they will be now heading into Barovia in the next session. And then today we've got Daybreak, and Daybreak is well, Daybreak, I don't know if they're going to finish Death House today. They haven't dealt with the dirts yet. They are absolutely wrecked as far as injuries. 7 wounds on Tiernan. Absolutely bananas. Broken legs, broken feet, broken arms. They're in real bad shape. Someone's already permanently died, Dana. So she's now possessed by the ghost of the maid. 2 of the party members have the children's ghost riding around in them. Overall, it's a hot mess. So, anyways, things that we've been doing since we have all the maps ready, and we have all of the monsters ready that are required raw for the adventure. I had been going through and raising the stakes using the Lunch Break Heroes Presents module, which is 105 pages of suggestions on what to do to make Curse of Strahd more interesting and maybe make a little bit more sense narratively, and advice for some of the more problematic encounters, and so on and so forth. But there's also Curse of Strahd Reloaded from Dragna Carta, which also adds some great advice and encounters to flesh out your game, and I've been trying to add those things in as well. But that's not what we're going to work on today. We're going to work on crafting today. So we already have a really good random encounter system in place. We already have a low magic, no magic injury and wounds and death and cheating death at a cost and fate. We've got all that sorted out. But the alchemy, crafting, and enchantment needs to be dealt with. So I already have talked to them about what this will entail, but the truth of the matter is I haven't actually built the system yet. Please don't tell anyone. So what we're going to do in 53 minutes is try to build that system out. So our good friends at Nord Games, you may recall a while ago, they gave me a copy of The Ultimate Guide to Alchemy, Crafting, and Enchantment. I want to say at this point it's been 2 years since I took a look at this book, maybe a little less, but yeah, it came out in 2020. So I found this book to be good. Morning, Scottrick. I found this book to be good, Ultimate Guide to Alchemy, Crafting, and Enchantment. It comes in at a beefy 255 pages. Now, the issue I had with this book, I think, when we reviewed it initially was the timetables were pretty wonky. Like, it kind of felt like the time was all over the map. Well, since then, Solasta crafting system, all that kind of came into play. So we're kind of leaning more into that. Let me see if I have the Solasta crafting system rules handy that we came up with. There we go. Lovely. And we will share these out into chat. Hold on. Anybody wants to take a look at them. Alright, so the premise here, if you're not familiar with the video game Solasta, is using the SRD. These people made the most accurate Dungeons & Dragons video game ever made. For better or for worse. For better or for worse. Some things don't really translate well into video game, but it most assuredly did feel authentic to SRD Dungeons & Dragons. One of the things that I liked about it was the crafting system. I thought the crafting system was really, really well done. So I endeavored, using this Reddit post that's linked in the document, to kind of figure out what I could do to make this work in Dungeons & Dragons. So 3 sections: what it takes to craft, what happens while crafting, and learning instead of crafting. So part 1, what it takes to craft. A character cannot begin to craft an item unless these 4 requirements are made. The party knows the recipe. So, Curse of Strahd drops a lot of wizard spellbooks and a lot of scrolls on the party. But we're running Curse of Strahd, at least 2 of the 3 games, as low to no magic. So what the fuck am I going to do with all these spell scrolls and spell books, right? That's where this recipe system comes in. So instead of finding a spell book, you would find a recipe book. Instead of finding a spell scroll, you would find a recipe scroll. And thus far, I believe each group has found some recipes. And I don't actually have those recipes made. I just have in my notes, anytime there's a spell scroll, give them a recipe. So yeah, we kind of need to get on that in case, they haven't had a chance to ask, like, oh, what do recipes do and how does this work? Because they've been fighting for their lives. But next week, Nightfall will be experiencing quite a bit of downtime, I hope. And during that downtime, they will probably want to start crafting things. So it's something to think about. Yeah, so let's see. Let's continue on then. A character cannot begin to craft 4 things. So they need to know the recipe. They need the necessary crafting tools. The party has the ingredients the recipe requires. The crafting character has an applicable proficiency. And let's take a look at each requirement in detail, because refreshing this, we want to make sure that we're not building new systems on top of the old systems without refreshing the new, those older systems. All right, requirement 1, knowing the recipe. Ask your DM if you know how to make something. They will give you a recipe for it. Recipes can be found in the world. Recipes can be researched. Common items might simply require you to spend some gold as the recipe. The recipe will include DC for checks to build, how many checks are needed, the ingredients, the gold cost, if any, 1 to 3 reagents required, if any, the spells needed, if any. The crafter needs to have someone cast these spells into the item during the crafting process, and the tools needed, if any. Proficiency will be required. So that's quite a bit there. Hopefully I created a template that I could use to guide me through this process. If I didn't make a template, well, then we're going to have to make a template. Requirement number 2, having the tool, excuse me. In order to craft an item, and the appropriate tool needs to be used. Which tool you need is determined by the type of item you're trying to craft. It will be listed with the recipe. Requirement 3, having the ingredients. Ingredients, gold cost, if any, 1 to 3 reagents, if any, spells, etc., etc. We already mentioned this. A common ingredient for magical items is residuum, a raw stone infused with magical power. Keep an eye out for it. So we need to probably start putting residuum drops throughout the game. And also there are rituals that will allow you to turn magical items into residuum that you could then use to make magical items. That's all coming from like 4th edition you may be familiar with the term from Critical Role. That's where Mercer got it from. Whitestone is residuum or whatever. So let's see. The crafting process. So you've met all the requirements and want to actually make... oh, hold on. Requirement for having an applicable proficiency. Unlike the video game, we will only focus on tool proficiencies for crafting. Okay. Because in the video game, you could craft by having like an affiliated skill, but I want to actually have the tools be, important in this game. The crafting process. So you've met all the requirements and want to actually make something. In Foundry VTT, we're using Crash's Downtime Tracker mod to set up a task for making the item, including the name, the crafting DC, and the number of times you need to succeed. All this will be found within the recipe card. Oh, that's good to know. When can you make checks? Anytime you have an hour to focus only on crafting, DM's discretion. If you choose crafting as your camp action, make 2 checks. You can only make 10 crafting and/or learning checks in a single day. You cannot fail at making an item, but it can take a very long time if your skill is low, the DC is high, and/or you are very unlucky. Nat 1s and Nat 20s don't do anything special because we don't want to have to track that stuff. You may only roll checks on 1 item each time you have a chance to craft. You may use the int stat in place of any other stat normally associated with a tool when making a crafting check to reward intelligence in a game without arcane casters. So, learning instead of crafting. You can use the same system to learn new things. You can be learning one thing at any given time. If you change what you are learning, you lose all progress gained thus far and must start again. You can alternate between learning something and crafting something. You can learn a number of things equal to your proficiency bonus plus your intelligence modifier. If you want to learn something new, you must forget something else you have learned this way, like a Pokemon. Learning costs gold. You need to pay this cost before completing your training, or you cannot complete the training. This cost is abstract, covering equipment, lessons, etc. What can you learn? Weapon proficiencies, crafting tools, a new language, or research, which allows you to find out secrets, spells, wizards only, a new recipe, or information about a person, place, or thing. All right, so I have these screenshots here. It says sample recipe card, basic healing potion, and it is the DC to craft, the number of checks to succeed, and the ingredients: 25 gold pieces worth of silver dust, 8 ounces of blood from a regenerating creature or the blood of heroes, 8 ounces of purified water, and the tool proficiencies are an alchemist kit or herbalist kit. All right. Building a crafting learning tracker in Foundry VTT looks thusly. All right. How it will look in play. Beautiful. And when you hover over an icon, you can roll, and then it'll roll this check. And if you make progress, it'll track your progress. And when you're done, you make the item. All right. That's what a great system, man. Good stuff. I wrote that. I'm pretty proud of myself. All right. So now we got to figure out how to make recipes quickly. So we need to take this picture right here, and we need to make it into a template. Now, we obviously have the template in Le Foundry, but I want to have a document specifically for tracking recipes. So I have a document from 2021 called Monster Drops and Recipes. That might be handy. No, it's not. The document has no content whatsoever. Cool, cool. Thank you, past self. We're going to throw this in the trash. All right, let's try again. I've got this Curse of Strahd crafting document. Ah, okay. This actually has some useful stuff in it. All right. This mentions enchanting and all that kind of stuff. All right. Cool. And then, let's see. What other thing do I have for this? I have recipe book. Ah, okay. So I have a Nightfall recipe book. I guess I need to make another recipe book as well. So let's see. Let's wait on duplicating that. So Nightfall's recipe book, under the alchemy section, I guess I started to build this out. All right, so where am I getting this information from? The antitoxin, the candle, the chalk, like where's all that shit coming from? So that's where the Nord Games Ultimate Guide to Alchemy, Crafting, and Enchanting is coming in. It's over here. It's 202 pages or 225 pages, 250 pages? Jesus Christ. So there's a lot. There's a lot in here. Now, Chapter 6 is entirely dedicated to the creation of recipes. And their recipe layout is a bit more complicated. So you got the name of it, you've got what profession you need to be and what rank you need to be. And then it has the time to make, the value of the potion, the tools that you need, the ingredients, the source, the ability checks, the properties, the description. There's a lot going on here. A bit more complicated than my very dumbed down, very simple system. So, yeah, I don't know if I want to go all in for this. One thing that I really liked about this system, though, is crafting had focuses. So you had to choose the different focuses that you wanted to do for crafting. Going back to the beginning of the document, let's see if we can shortcut back to the beginning real quick. It's divided into associations, which are like guilds. And then within those associations, they have different things that they do. And you can even, like, they have tables. Your games loves tables. But they have alchemy, and then within alchemy, there are 3 different specializations. And then if you keep going, it lists the other ones that you could do as well, which is actual crafting. And then within crafting, there are different things you could do, as shown in my document over here to the left. And then within, beyond that, there is enchanting. And that's where you can actually start making the magical items and whatnot. So, enchanting is not available for Curse of Strahd. And then within crafting, we have all these things. So, I think what we'll do is I'll just tab these in just so that they stand out a little bit better when I'm like scrolling through, much better. And then here it talks about the ingredients. So within the ingredients, there are 4 ranks, low, medium, high, and supreme. And then there's different types of ingredients: alcohol, bone, creature essence, elemental essence, fiber, feather, gemstone, hide, intoxicant, medicinal, metal, monster essence, pigment, precious metal, psychotropic, rock, sand, stimulant, toxic, water, and wood. And then it talks about properties as well. So if these things are here, these types, they can also have properties. So you could have like a sharp bone or something like that. And then down here it talks about the initial recipes that they would have access to. And I only listed, I believe, the novice stuff for each one because we're early on in the game. But the novice for these early things in the game means that I need to settle on how I'm going to interpret each of these recipes for them to make stuff in the game. And that's where I started to kind of go through and copy pasta this stuff out. So the real issue here is, how complicated do I want this to be, and how much work do I really want to put in to converting all this stuff? Do I just use the Ultimate Guide to Crafting from Nord Games? Do I use that as is, and I just say, this is what we're doing, and then all I have to do is go in and change the time to just number of checks that are required, because they already have ability checks listed. So, they tell you the tools, they tell you the ability check. The only thing I would need to change is the time itself, right? So, for example, 40 hours would be 40 checks. That's a lot of checks. You know what I'm saying? Like, to make one antitoxin. And then it takes 1 hour to make a piece of chalk. because I don't think it goes lower than 1 hour. Um, it's a little, it's a little weird, right? And then as far as like the ingredients go, it's just saying that it requires a fluid. So like any fluid? Question mark? Like, I guess. So it's basically saying any fluid worth, 1 silver piece or less is what you need to make glue. So glue's pretty easy to make. Paint is a bit more expensive, and sealing wax is, mid-grade or whatever. Soap, etc., etc. So these are like the most basic bitch items that you would assume anybody would know how to make and can make them relatively easily. One might argue if the DC is only 5, like why have them roll at all? But I guess on something like antitoxin that takes 40 flippin' hours, or ink that takes 8 hours, or oil or something like that, I guess you would want to keep track. I don't know. Plus people like rolling dice, so. But you can kind of see the situation I find myself in, where there's a lot of content here, and crafting systems are always a lot of work for the DM, in my opinion. And it's a lot of work for the players too, and if the DM is not handling it well and not buying into the system, then it becomes less appealing to do that. So let me make sure Foundry doesn't forget I'm here in these games. There we go. So let's see. Here's the sample recipe card that we're going to use in Foundry. And it's very simple. So I'm going to take a picture of this, and we're going to go over here. And I guess we'll make antitoxin our demo piece to try to figure this out. So this would be antitoxin. All right. And let's see. That would be a title. Oh, probably want to spell it right. There we go. And then it does require Alchemy Novice. That's correct. All right. And then this one says DC to craft, and then number of checks to succeed. So DC to craft. We see that it is only a 5, but it also provides what they want the primary stat to be, keeping in mind that any stat can be subbed with int based on our system. All right. I'd say overall, looking at this, well, then we get to ingredients. So their ingredients are just kind of ephemeral, right? Like they want you to have a poisonous toxin, and they want you to have a medicinal item. So as long as a drop meets one of those 2 requirements, you're good. The question here is, every single monster drop, then we need to be like tagging and bagging those monsters. What is this monster drop? How does its stuff work with the crafting system? That sort of thing. Now we're already using drops from Anne Gergeson, so those drops kind of have their own properties already, and now we're supposed to layer on top of those properties additional properties. Where it starts to kind of get cumbersome and tiresome to me is this is a lot of, in my opinion, these are a lot of things to have to keep in mind, like the stupefying, the staining, the sharp, the resonant, the psychedelic, the poisonous, that's a lot of traits to remember every time we're going through and like labeling like a monster's drops. In my opinion, crafting systems that synthesize the I harvest for materials after every single fight thing, then I can't stand it. Yeah, so I like the idea that monsters drop stuff. I mean, I'm a big fan of Monster Hunter. And I also just think, like in video games where the monsters actually drop parts and then the parts can be used to like craft and stuff like that, I think that's pretty fun. And I think it's a bit more immersive to the game. Now, obviously, you run into some things that in a video game versus real life, in a video game versus a tabletop game, which is supposed to be like a virtual reality simulator, if I kill if I kill a dinosaur, right? Because I just saw some robot dinosaurs 2 days ago and got dinosaurs with brain. But like some of those dinosaurs were only about the size of a person or like a horse, and they weighed like 2,200 pounds. So like you've got like 2,200 pounds of meat and bones and everything else. Like adventurer goes out and kills like a big ass grizzly bear. That's like a lot of fur and leather and a lot of meat, and it's like, at what point does the already shaky and terrible economy of the Fifth Age of Magic, especially in Curse of Strahd, when does that economy just collapse in on itself because the adventurers are just going out there and harvesting all the time and making all this money and coming back and selling it, right? So there's a certain conditioning, right, that a lot of D&D groups have where monsters don't have loot, right? Monsters don't drop things that are useful because then we're in like a Skyrim situation, right, where they're picking up every fork and every knife because everything has value and they want to sell everything and they want to get ahead of the, ahead of the game. Yeah, like my feelings on having a crafting system go all over the map. The reason I felt that I would try again with a crafting system for this game specifically is because we did take magic out of the game, right? Or at least we took magic out of the player character's hands. Yeah. So I want them to feel that they can kind of like level the playing field. Yeah, I want them to feel like they can level the playing field, but also my players understand. Yeah, my players understand that I'm gonna just at a certain point be like, yeah, that's just not gonna happen, right? Like in the interest of the game and in the interest of the narrative, in the interest of us like playing the game and not just playing like make-believe merchants, we're gonna have to like keep moving things forward. So I have over, the years kind of tried to condition people to say like, oh, well, the crafting represents like the most viable parts, right? Like you kill the dragon, but like not every part of the dragon is worth using. And then you got your little Pathfinder shits that are like, but I have mending, right? And like, oh, nothing's ever broken because we have mending, right? Nothing could ever be broken because there's mending. It's like, oh, okay. And then you got your higher level people that are like, well, I'll bring the monster back to life, and then I'll regenerate the monster so it's not broken anymore, and then we'll kill the monster again to make sure we get the parts undamaged. And then you also end up with the metagamey players that they're given the opportunity to tell you how they kill the monster, and instead of saying something cool like I smash in the monster's skull and like brains go everywhere, I'm bathed in the blood of my enemies, they're like, I cleanly kill the monster in such a way as to not damage any of the drops that we might get whatsoever. And it's like, yeah. So crafting system is almost always bad. That's my take. Crafting systems are almost always the worst. And crafting classes and the players that like to play crafting classes are also the worst. I have a few. They are cool people and they're good players, but it's not like my style of play, right? Like I like crafting, right? I like playing, Monster Hunter and, like, the monster drops and I turn them into more parts to go fight more monsters. But like my level of engagement with that is like pretty minimal. I'm like, hey, that's cool. We could do this thing. I would be just as happy if the DM was like, you got these drops and if you hand them in, they'll give you money. And then you could use that money to buy things that they make with the craft. Like, I could never craft something as a player, ever, and be completely happy. Like, we did crafting for Rime of the Frost Maiden, and, like, that's time I'll never get back. Like, that's time I'll never get back. So, it's definitely not for everybody. It's definitely not for everybody. But, I do feel that if ever there was a campaign where I should give crafting a shot, it's this Curse of Strahd campaign. Because they don't have any magic, and we got to have some way for them to make shit. All right, stepping down off my my soapbox. But in my heart of hearts, I really would prefer if we didn't have a crafting system. But I want to try and make it work as like a personal challenge to myself. Yeah. So let's see. I think we could probably just go with the recipes as written, and then I would just modify the time to be like the number of checks, honestly. Um, the value that they list is the value that you would like sell it for. So basically, without having to like sell at cost, they would have to be. See, and that's where it all kind of starts to fall apart. Like, what's the profit margin? Like, if I'm making this stuff, are they making it so that they don't have to buy it, or because they can't buy it somewhere, or are they making it because they want to make a profit? Who in Barovia even has money to buy their shit? How there's so much money that they find in this campaign, and there's just nothing for them to spend it on. So the idea, I think, to me, is that they, rather than buying stuff, they can make the stuff, essentially. Well, right. There really aren't. Yeah, there really aren't a lot of stores. There isn't a lot of commerce in Barovia. So, like, being able to craft stuff is important. I think it's the vendor in Barovia that does 10 times the cost. I don't even know if there is a decent store in Valakai. I know that Raising the Stakes and Curse of Strahd Reloaded, they both recommend adding stuff. So, High Prime says Helenia's Guide to Monster Hunting is much simpler and worth taking a look. All right, I think I have that book. Let's see. Heliana's Guide. Update. The PDF is done. Cool, let me read it. Digital rewards. Now that the PDF is done, we're distributing all of our digital assets. Okay, cool. Give it to me. Bonus content. Physical rewards. Okay. Maybe it's an earlier one. Let's see. All right. Feedback form. Join our Discord server. Sure. I thought I was already on the Discord server. Maybe I quit because there were too many notifications. All right. How do I get the actual PDF though? New digital content. There we go. Click here to log in and claim it. Early access legal text, digital top-down tokens, the ambiances of Heliana's Guide, Heliana's Guide. Let's see. Spreads, PDF version, PDF spreads. Shit. Basically, you can use this for anything private. If you want to stream, drop us a line in advance. Don't distribute. Oh, sorry, guys. I cannot go over this on stream with you guys yet. Alright. How sad. I mean, could we maybe just open it real quick? Harvesting. Okay. Oh. Alright. Wow. This book's actually looking pretty slick. Sorry, it feels like I'm like doing something secretive, but yeah. 600 pages long. Oh my god. Wow. Okay. So I will ask permission to go over this guide. And then we will go over it on Wednesday, I think. So we'll have to put a pin in this for now, and then we'll go over this guide on Wednesday. Narrating the harvesting process, results and rewards, optional rules, failing with consequences, storage and supplies, trading. Wow, this is really well done. Harvesting tables. Gaining the essence of monsters. Everybody's like obsessed with the essence of monsters. I'm kind of into that shit though. So this is basically a system that goes off of the type of monster you're dealing with, which is kind of cool. And let's see. Crafting itself. How stuff is made. Manufacturing. Material and cost. Abilities and tools. Tool proficiencies. Difficulty and flavor. And the check you have to make. I mean, it kind of feels like we're in the same boat. Like, to make a steel longsword, you need 5 GP worth of steel ingots. You need time. You need smith's tools. You need a forge and an anvil. And you need to make a DC 17 strength smith's tools check. Okay. And then they talk about what the tools could be used for, tools and their products. That's actually a very handy table. Hold on. I'm sure it wouldn't be a big deal if I just plopped this table down in here. There we go. Alright, so alchemist supplies, brewer supplies, calligrapher supplies, carpenter tools, cryptography tools, cobbler's tools. Good. Okay. And then, let's see. Manufacturing DC and the time to make it. Wow, they've got rules for making every single weapon and every piece of armor, including the special ones introduced in the book. And then they got enchantment rules, forging. Okay, I almost feel like they're overcomplicating it a little bit here, but time and money. All right. So honestly, this is kind of like in the same spot where we're at right now. One of the things I see that's kind of cool already is that they got a quirk system. So basically, it's like succeeding at a cost. So if you don't want to lose all the materials, you might make a weapon, but then the weapon has some flaws, to it. So that's kind of neat, actually. Wow, very cool. Okay, so yeah, I will message them and try to get permission to go over this on stream on Wednesday. In the meantime, everything that I'm seeing here just reinforces like what we're already doing, which is making checks until you're done building it, having the materials on hand, having the tools on hand. It's all the same. It's all the same across all these systems. So in that way, I think we're on the right track. All right. If that is the case, then I still have to figure out what I want to do with drops. Do I want to make them elemental based? Do I want to make them creature based? Or do I want to make them material based? Or does it need to be all 3? So mix and match, essentially. I kind of like that one. So let's talk about turning antitoxin into a potion recipe. Alright, so you have to be a novice alchemist. That's the DC to craft it, and the number of checks you need to succeed. And it says 40. I feel like that's a lot. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like maybe 10 would be more appropriate for an antitoxin. Okay, because, God, 40 hours. Jesus Christ. I mean, antitoxin's not even that good. It only gives you advantage on saving throws against poison. It doesn't even give you resistance. Am I doing wondrous item crafting, consumable crafting, or both? I'm going to allow crafting up into a certain point. Like, they won't be able to make highly magical items, essentially. Because Strahd is not interested in too much of a challenge. So he has basically hunted down and killed most of the people that would pose a threat to him as far as, arcane magic users go. And this time around, he, he's looking for heroes that can succeed without magic, basically. So that's part of why they're poaching people from the real world instead, or the real world, from mundane Earth instead of like more fantasy heroes. Yeah. You would say that you could make an antitoxin in a single hour? Hmm. Yeah, I mean, again, who really needs antitoxin in the first place? Let's go with 2 hours because that's what you got to do for a camping check. All right, and then this is just going to be PHP raw item is the description, and then what do we need for ingredients? All right. Oh, nah, I like the idea of them doing the checks because it's like very Solasta, and then the way it's set up is they just have to click a button like on their character sheet and it will automatically record their successes. And then you get to see like a little progress bar fill up as you are making the item. Yeah. So, let's see. All right. So the ingredients that are suggested by Nord Games for antitoxin is a poisonous toxin, essentially, and a medicinal item. So I'm going to say that that's actually pretty good. So we're going to say um, one toxin and one medicinal. All right. Tools required. And they've got that covered right there. Herbalism kit. And then this table over here, though, that we found in that mysterious document that we aren't supposed to get on stream. Would a poisoner's kit also allow you to make antitoxin? I feel like it would. Would an alchemist kit allow you to do it? It just says potions and miscellaneous salves or lotions. Brewer supplies allows you to make potions as well. And then herbalism allows you to make potions as well, and any salves or lotions. So there's definitely like a lot of ways to go about doing it. I don't really think it's bad to give them a number of options for what they can make. All right. So let's see. Tools required. That would be alchemist tools, brewer's tools, herbalism kit, and poisoner's kit. We really want them to be able to make antitoxins. Alright. So, anything that is a toxin, according to this document, we've got toxin right here, and I believe the description of toxin was anything that requires you to make a saving throw after being hit with it. Yeah. So that makes sense. The question here is, do we assign these values to every single drop or only when they start looking for the drops is the thing. That's the tricky part. All right. Because I feel like the less things I had to track, right, like the more likely it would be that I would remember that that shit was there. But maybe I'm just being lazy, because like this doesn't seem like too many things to remember when you're applying them. Crafting. Wah. Alright. Let's see. Any other modifications here to this antitoxin? And then its properties, it is a fluid. Well, yeah, but I guess that should be listed somewhere. Alright. Oh, so then you would also need a flask to put the thing in. Alright, so 1 toxin, 1 medicinal, and 1 flask would be the items. There we go. Number of checks, properties, tools required, and then, of course, description. Alright. I think that could work. Antitoxin, alchemy, novice. Alright. Okay. So let's try another one then, and see what other stuff we could do with this. Alright, so we've got a candle down here. So let's see. The time to make a candle is 1 hour. Okay. So there we go. Well, this is actually important because they've been making torches. Like, both groups have been making torches. Hey, what's up, Orpheus? Me too. Me too. I hope it's a good session today. So, we have people making torches in the game, and I've just been, like, kind of hand-waving it, right? But this system would actually cover the making of a torch, I believe. So, let's see. Torch is a novice recipe. I don't know why I didn't have that as one of the things that they should make. So it's under crafting. Torch. Alright. Go to torch. Show us torch. Torch. There we go. Alright. It is a DC 5 intelligence wood carver's tools. That's kind of a stretch. I feel like kind of feel like that's a stretch. Do you really carve a torch? Like, maybe? A torch burn... I mean, wouldn't it be alchemy? Right? I don't know. Feels weird. Alright. Let's go ahead, finish candle, and then we'll make torch. Because that's obviously a recipe that, you know, we need. It also is one of the first ones I've seen that only takes 20 minutes to make a torch. I was actually letting them make torches much faster than that. Let's see. A torch burns for 1 hour, providing light, blah, 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 blah. Okay. All right. So, going over here to candles. All right. According to this, candle is a dexterity to make. That checks out. You got to get the wick in there, make sure it's not all bunched up, that sort of thing. Number of check would be 1, and then we can actually put next to it, I don't know, 30 minutes. There we go. I feel like you would make quite a few at once. Let's see. Homemade candles. How many at once? How to make soy candles with 3 layers. Guide using candles, making candles at home. Gather your materials, double boiler. Yeah, so it looks like you could make quite a few candles in one go. So let's assume that you're making 10 candles at once. All right. Up to 10 candles per batch. Wow, I can't believe this is even happening. All right. The materials for this. It says that it wants hide and string. I guess the hide is to get the grease from the hide, or the fat, essentially. And then string would be any sort of fiber or whatnot. Okay. And then, let's see. Then the tools themselves would definitely be alchemist tools, I think, to make candles. Is that what they suggest? Yeah, and a heat source. Okay, so that works, and then the description would be the same. Okay, so now let's move on to La Torche. Alright. So I was letting them use survival to make torches, because that seemed pretty good in the moment. And I'd probably continue to honor the making of torches as a survival skill, in addition to being a tool-based skill. Let's see. Let's move this up to there. Put the torch down here. Okay. So making a torch is crafting. Go. And the DC is intelligence-based. All right. And number of checks is 1, and we'll do up to 3 per batch. Okay. And then the things that you need is a shaft. Oh my god. All right. 1 shaft, 1 cloth, and 1 oil. 1 oil or fuel. Okay. And then the properties, it has none. And I guess the properties of a candle are also none. Alright. And then, you know, the more I'm going over and the more I'm digging into the Nord Games thing, it's actually not bad. It really isn't that bad. It's really about just kind of like learning the keywords and applying the keywords. So it's not too bad. All right. And the description is PHP raw. So I would allow to make such an item. They said that it should be woodworkers tools. Like, what the hell? Wood carvers tools, ammunition, rod staffs, wands, weapons, miscellaneous, anything made of wood. Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I hate that there's not like a Bower Fletcher kit raw. That feels so bad. Weaver's tools can make padded armor, can make nets and slings, can make cloaks, hats, robes, or anything made of cloth. Okay, that's actually kind of cool. Would you also allow wood carving to be bone carving? I feel like I would. Yeah. So anyways, we'll do wood carvers tools. And then we will also put special survival skill. All right. That works. Okay. So let's see. We've only got like 3.5 minutes, and I gotta go grab some breakfast. So, I like where this is at for sure. I think that we can make this work. It does kind of represent a bit of a chore for me to kind of like convert the recipe cards over, which is kind of a pain in the ass. I wish I had like a faster system for that. Let's see. What if I grab this and I paste it in? Oop. Like so. Oh god, the formatting's terrible. Okay. What is it still going to look that bad in Foundry? Let's see. I don't know if we really want to have every single recipe card as a journal entry in Foundry either, because that would start to get pretty junked up. Alright, we're going to do torch recipe. We didn't even spell torch right. God, just garbage. Okay. What does it look like when we format it here? Ooh, that's not too bad. Just kind of pasting it in as is. Not too bad. So we just change out time for number of checks. Okay. I like that. I like that quite a bit. Okay, so then the oil would be its own thing, like so. We do that bad boy right there. And now we have the materials. Okay. Okay. I think this is what we're going to do. Just because that was pretty quick. I just had to change a couple of things, do a little bit of formatting, and it's good to go. And if I don't like the materials it's asking for, or I think additional tools could be used, I could just go ahead and add those in. And honestly, I feel like survival skill, you should be able to make some basic ass shit, like some rope and some, you know, improvised weapons and a, in this case, a torch. I think that all works pretty good. All right, nice. So we already have torch recipe up there. Crafting, number of checks. Oh, number of checks. 1 can create up to 3. And then we'll say 20 minutes, comma, can create up to 3. That seems good. Nice. So now we have an official recipe card. Like, I guess the first real recipe card of the game. Okay. And then a shaft would be like anything that's like a long stick, right? So you could use a bone, you could use a table leg, you could use a stick, you could use an old club. So yeah, they've got like a lot of things you could do there. You got to wrap the cloth around it, and then which would be any kind of fiber really, which is what we've been doing so far. So yeah, I think this works. But we will explore crafting some more on Wednesday, and hopefully, Alexa, stop the timer. And hopefully it will involve, you know, reading and looking at Heliana's 600 pages of crafting information. We'll kind of go through there and see if there's anything that can help us refine what we have here. But overall, pretty happy with this. So, good stuff. All right, what's our week looking like? My week normally starts on a Monday, so we're finishing up the week today. We've got Curse of Strahd Daybreak in about 19 minutes. Lexaeus is going to be streaming that game. The VOD will be available on Tuesday, I believe, is what we're shooting for. And then, let's see. Tonight we got Mythic Odyssey. They're kind of going around doing a lot of role play. There may or may not be a big-ass fight tonight against a really kick-ass monster. So we'll have to see if that if diplomacy wins out or if they end up fighting. And tomorrow night we continue planeswalking with Odyssey Prime. Tuesday, nothing official going on, I believe. Wednesday we've got Curse of Strahd Nightfall. Thursday. No, sorry, Wednesday, yeah. Man, my head's all like a mess. Wednesday, we've got more Monster Hunter. Thank you. Thursday, we've got Curse of Strahd Nightfall. Friday, I don't believe anything's going on. Oh, I remember what's going on Tuesday. Tuesday, we have a Krampus adventure. There is still 2 spots open on Tuesday night for the Krampus adventure. It is $20 to play. That money will be donated directly to Extra Life, just so that we could finish the Extra Life year, you know, strong or whatever. You'll get a copy of the adventure, and it is an adventure that I wrote and published, so it's nothing you've ever played before, and it's like a holiday adventure where you go up against the Krampus. So that's what's going on Tuesday. Yeah. You made a Giphy 3 scalar template for Foundry. I'm going to have to look at that tomorrow night then, because my monster scalar is already broken, the one that I built. So I definitely want to check that out, sir. I made myself a scaling boss template, and it is super broken already. I don't know what I did wrong, but it's already super broken. All right. Yeah, so we got a lot going on this week. But overall, it's going to be a lot of fun. I hope everybody is staying healthy and safe and enjoying this end of the year time, whether it's for holidays or whatever. So, maybe I will see you in chat during the game. Maybe I'll see you tonight. Otherwise, I will see you next time.